Yes, we are back. We are live. Monday Night Raw has just gone off the air at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. The show that featured the return of CM Punk, as well as Randy Orton. Of course, Randy Orton being away for 18 months, actually wrestled this evening as well. But I think most people certainly tuned in to Raw tonight to see CM Punk and listen to what CM Punk had to say. And really the answer is not that much, to be honest with you. I think this evening, and you can let me know in the live chat how you feel about Raw. Get your chats in, get your takes in. I'm really interested to know actually what you guys think and what you guys have to say on this one. I'm really and truly very interested. Because it was a show that had a lot of buzz going into it. It was a show that had a lot of people very excited about, what was CM Punk going to say, who was going to interrupt him, who was going to face off against him realistically as well. And the response to a lot of it was, I guess they don't know. They're not really sure at the moment. We had heard over the weekend that nobody knew that CM Punk was coming back. Nobody knew that he was going to be coming back at Survivor Series War Games. Triple H knew, Nick Khan knew, CM Punk knew, and maybe one or two others perhaps knew, but nobody in creative knew. And I think with that promo that we've just seen to close out Monday Night Raw, I think that's a promo where creative are still figuring out what are we going to do. Triple H said it in his post-show press conference that it came together very quickly, sort of in the last, shall we say, 7 to 10 days, and they're figuring things out. If you thought that CM Punk and Seth Rollins were going to feud, it could happen still, but it's not going to happen in the immediate future because Seth Rollins is tied up with Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso, and it looks like that trio is going to be competing over the World Heavyweight Championship, possibly as we head into the Royal Rumble. If you thought it was going to be Cody Rhodes, well, it's not, because Cody Rhodes is locked in with Shinsuke Nakamura after Shinsuke Nakamura missed it and attacked him this evening. Cody Rhodes declared his entry, for the Royal Rumble. If you thought it was going to be Randy Orton, well, Randy Orton has said, I'm feuding with the Judgment Day, and also, I've got the Bloodline still in my crosshairs because they took me out. So all of those top stars, they're busy. So the question going into Raw was, who is Punk going to feud with? And coming out of Raw, we still have that same question. Now, one thing I was saying during the show, because the question is, are you surprised? Are you surprised that really there wasn't any kind of movement for Punk and there's no kind of determination as to where he's going in the future at the moment? And I suppose the answer to that is kind of no, not really. That's no real surprise because that's kind of what I thought would happen. Punk gets a live microphone, 10 minutes, says I'm back, I'm the best in the world, I'm here to prove myself, I'm home, was the line that he used. CM Punk is home. CM Punk is home in WWE, words from the man himself. He also did a couple of, subtle references to a few subtle things, said everyone universally was happy to see him back. Well, maybe not everyone, maybe one or two people, maybe referencing Seth Rollins, who earlier on in the broadcast had called him a hypocrite. So maybe the foundations have been laid there for something to happen in the future. Not right now, but in the future. He also made a sly reference to the wise man. And when you're talking to wise man in WWE, that can only be one person. That's Paul Heyman. Now, I kind of said during the watch-along that if one person was going to come out to maybe confront him, maybe it would be Paul Heyman. Maybe the right angle to be, would be, we know that Roman Reigns is next wrestling at the Rumble. That's when he's next going to be defending his undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Why not just go in big straight away? Do Punk versus Roman. Roman's going to win, but he wins by interference from Seth Rollins, who's busy right now. Seth Rollins cost CM Punk the match at the Rumble, and then later on that evening, Punk enters the Rumble, and he wins. I know Cody Rhodes says that he's going to be in the Rumble, but Cody shouldn't win it 2 years in a row. He should have to go through even more adversity to finish his story. I think probably the Elimination Chamber. So if you're coming to this post-show for answers to questions that we had coming into the evening, unfortunately we don't have them, but I guess the only question we can say is, what did CM Punk say? Well, he said that he's home. He said he's back where he belongs. Did he talk about AEW? Nope. Did he talk about Tony Khan? Nope. Probably for the same reason that Tony Khan didn't talk about him earlier today when he was asked, which is legal reasons as to why he can't say anything. But we got Punk inside of a WWE ring with a live microphone which is what we really expected this evening. So get your comments in, get your thoughts in. We're going to be going through the entire show and thoughts on the show. Really, of course, the biggest story is CM Punk, his comments, his promo. Not massively newsworthy or anything like that, but I guess the biggest points are that he says 2 words, I've changed. He says it sounds corny, but he says that he's changed. Now, I don't know if he means in the last 10 years or in the last couple of months or something like that, or if he's being honest and genuine, and he says that he's back home. So 2 words each time. I've changed and I'm home. They are the words that he has said this evening. But as far as future plans, we still don't know. What's the chat saying? If you haven't already, click the like button. We've got over 100 people watching. See if we can get to 50 likes early on. We're currently at 19, so click that like button. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner, you will pop up, or you should pop up certainly. New subscribers should appear on the screen. With some CM Punk gifts this evening for new subscribers as well. See if we can get to 15,180. Only 3 away. We love the round numbers here at WrestleNews 365. So if you haven't already, subscribe, click that like button. Super chats are also welcome. They'll also pop up on the screen with some text and some sounds and all that kind of stuff. Right, what are people saying here in the chat? Red Devils 99 says the return of Orton, Punk, and the Truth. Wow, yes. That was the big return. As Triple H said after Survivor Series, right? The big return, Truth, he's back. Yeah, Truth is back, and he was on the show eating jelly rolls. Yes. Mr. Majestic says, well, CM Punk's first promo in a WWE ring in about 10 years was a whole lot of talk from CM Punk about nothing. It did not feel as genuine as his first promo on AEW. That is, something I would probably agree with. His first promo in AEW on the first dance in Rampage at the United Center back in 2021 felt much more organic and felt much more from the heart. This felt more calculated, shall we say. Felt more reserved. I mean, he threw any kind of like soundbite you could possibly think of in there as well. He dropped some humdingers of some lines in there as well. Talking about, again, being the best in the world. I've got my notes in front of me here. Hell froze over. He's changed. He's home. It's the truth. He's home. You never forgot me. The voice, this was the one. The voiceless found their voice. I love you guys. Shout out to his wife as well. Says AJ is all good. Sends her regards. Everyone is happy to see him. Almost everyone. The brass ring's in his back pocket and they can't grab it. In the ring, on the microphone, even on commentary, nobody can touch him because his name is CM Punk. He also said, probably his best line actually came off the microphone once he finished doing his promo. He said directly into the camera, he said, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money. Maybe that's probably the best thing he said throughout the entire evening. But I kind of do agree with what Mr. Majestic is saying there. What did he say? A whole lot of nothing. And maybe that's just because WWE creative themselves haven't figured it out yet, what they want to do. And they had all of their ideas mapped out. Because, look, reportedly under Triple H, they've got things mapped out way more in advance than it ever was under Vince McMahon. And everyone's kind of plugged in at the moment. And they're trying to figure out, okay, where do we go with Punk then? Because even with Orton, they're saying that actually, the Orton plan for him to be in War Games and all that kind of stuff, that's been the plan since the summer, and we're at the end of November now. So if Punk's just come in and slotted in straight away, they need to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with Phil? What are we thinking about doing with CM Punk at this point? Like, again, what's the plan? What are we intending to do here? And coming out of this, I guess the answer is, I don't know. We still don't really know, to be honest with you. We're still not totally sure. Let's get some comments up on the screen. And as I mentioned, then we'll continue to go through the show. KVS says, hey, dude wants his check. Have to keep the man happy. Well, certainly the last thing he wants to do, he's burnt a few bridges. A few, he's probably put it lightly. He's burnt quite a lot of bridges, and he probably just wants to get through tonight and be like, okay, let's just get into some programs that I don't want to make. I'm on good behavior. I'm on double secret probation right now, definitely. Zigga says, build it up to a Punk versus Locker Room. Punk is better as a heel. However, it will require a slow burn on that. A lot of money to be drawn as him as a face right now. And as you can see right there, Monroe Josh just subscribed, and you can see you get the CM Punk GIF as well. There's like 5 or 6 different ones. So if you haven't already, you should pop up. Same with Super Chats as well. So that's always fun, isn't it? Andrew says, don't understand why they would bring Punk back to have nothing to do. Yeah, I understand for ratings, but we will have to see, I guess. And it is an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's not, but CM Punk's not like, a Jade Cargill or some other people, or like Carlito. Carlito's maybe a better example. When they signed someone, remember they had Carlito under contract for a long time before they brought him to TV, because they could figure out what to do with him creatively. Carlito was supposed to come back at the MSG show in SmackDown in, what was that, July? Around that period of time, I think it was. And eventually came back at Fastlane, which was in September. So they saved it like an extra couple of months. He was under contract for maybe even earlier than that, because they were waiting for the right time creatively to bring him in. Punk's not like that. You don't, as the reports had said over the last few days, they had considered bringing him back for the Rumble, which would have maybe given them more adequate time to prepare what they wanted to do with him. But they realized if we've got Punk under contract for 2 months, people are going to find out. And we want to have this big reaction, which they've definitely got on social media. So, I mean, my instincts tell me this evening was maybe a bit underwhelming with Punk. Wow, it is quite underwhelming because I think we expected developments. But when you do take a step back, should it really hamper the creative process just because it's Phil Brooks, I suppose? Maybe. I'm not sure. Andrew says, should have Punk on SmackDown, not Raw. Too many big names on Raw. Well, that's not to say that he won't be on SmackDown, of course, this week. Maybe that's part of it as well. I mean, I think he was on Raw tonight because it's the closest show to Survivor Series, and like people were saying, they want to pop ratings, certainly. Jay Black says AJ Styles versus CM Punk. What else are people saying? Monroe says, wonder who will get the first crack at CM Punk. That's a big decision. I mean, let me know in the chat who you who do you think CM Punk's first feud is going to be? Because coming out of Raw tonight, we really didn't get any indication as to who that person is going to be. No tease. I mean, the real biggest tease was maybe Rollins, and he's still tied into doing other stuff. The Seth Rollins part was, again, more kind of crowd forced. I mean, but again, maybe that's just being smart, going, look, we know they're going to chant Punk. You had your reaction at Survivor Series. In addition to that, of course, you did the thing in the live event where he said that I don't even want to talk about him. And Rollins basically said the same thing that he said at the live event, which was, I'm not wasting my breath on him, on that, didn't say his name, on that hypocrite. And then Punk did tease that there's someone that's got a problem with him. I would assume referring to Seth Rollins, saying everyone's happy to have me back. Everyone's welcome me back. Open arms, even kissing me on the lips, which was okay, fine. And he said everyone's happy to see me back apart from one person, which one would think that's probably Rollins. But the plan isn't to do Rollins versus Punk right now because it's time to do Punk versus Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre, I guess. Now, next week, Rollins is defending the world title, but I think it's building clearly towards some kind of triple threat, one would think, maybe. What else are people saying here in the chat? Mr. Majestic says, will CM Punk's new run in WWE be the PG version of CM Punk? I'd be the same person that he was last time in WWE, right? Which was PG Punk. I mean, his best success came in the PG era in WWE, right? So I don't think there'll be any different from that as well. Richard says, I hope CM Punk takes that title away from Roman Reigns. Reigns don't deserve the title. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? The most historic reign in recent WWE history. A reign over 3 years in length, ended by a returning CM Punk who just got fired from AEW, who is still on his best behavior. And make no mistake, there are people backstage in WWE right now waiting for him to do something bad, waiting to have a problem. And I think WWE executives and Triple H they must have had those conversations with Punk, being like, mate, you got to be on good, but you cannot get in fights. Otherwise, not only will we fire you, but we'll have to get rid of you so quickly. And if you're Punk and if you're smart, you've got to go into it with the mentality of like, I know people want me to fail here. I know people think I'm going to screw up. I know that people think I'm a bad egg. I know people think I'm a psychopath. And I've got to prove that I'm not, basically. I've got to prove that I can work with people, that I can get on with people. And actually, I do kind of view this as Punk trying to sort of go to a place or show people what maybe should have happened in AEW, in the sense of he had issues with these people, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, whoever it may be, but he was willing to do business. And I think he's trying to prove that in WWE, you can have heat and you can have problems, but you can still be willing to do business. Seth Rollins and CM Punk don't like each other, legitimately. Rollins hates CM Punk, but willing to do business, because that's pro wrestling at the end of the day. And that's what sells tickets. That's what gets ratings. That's what gets people talking. Look at the reaction on social media over the last 48 hours. Look at all of the stories about this person doesn't like Punk. This person stormed out. McIntyre left the arena. Rollins was furious. Rollins was held back by Michael Cole. You know, that's all based off real life, because that's what pro wrestling is how can you buy in? It's like any television program. Whether it's Marvel, whether it's Breaking Bad, whether it's Dexter, whether it's Game of Thrones, whether it's whatever it is, it's what does it take to make you believe? What does it make you dip in? Because you know what you're watching isn't real. Just like when you're watching Marvel, you know there's not a purple alien that's snapping half of all universe out of existence. But if it's good, if it's compelling, and if there's something you can grip onto, then you're willing to jump in. And that's what pro wrestling is. And with real life issues, it's not that much of a jump. So the buy-in isn't even that tough. You go, I know they don't like each other. So actually, when they're saying those things, that bit there might be real. The rest of it's all rubbish, but that bit might be real. Which part is he shooting? Which part is he working? Is that what he's trying to do? So you can look at it one of two ways, can't you, this evening, his promo. You can look at it as underwhelming and that we didn't get much development. And you can look at it as he kept things quite close to the vest and we don't know who he's going to be feuding with, and we don't know who he's going to be facing, etc., etc., etc. Or you can look at it and say, I've still got questions, and that's not a bad thing. You don't want to give the game away too quickly, do you? And people will still want to know who's CM Punk going to be facing, and they'll tune in whether it's Friday or they'll tune in whether it's Monday to find out indeed who that's going to be. I do think going forward, they need to turn some people heel. Just in general, there's a lot of top baby faces on the roster right now. And there aren't many top heels. Reigns ain't on TV that much. I mean, McIntyre's now a heel. Nakamura's a heel. He's a top heel. Probably not. I wouldn't be opposed to turning Rollins heel in a Punk feud. I think that might be for the best, to be honest, realistically too. So I think there's something in that. I think there's legs in that as well. But let me know what you guys think too. Andrew says Punk versus KO. Travis says his interview was underwhelming. Andrew says, how long do you think we'll have to wait until Punk's first match? I don't think we'll have to wait until the Rumble. I mean, again, this is the thing too. We don't know the details of his contract. If he's on the same contract that he was on in AEW, he'd be wrestling most weeks on TV. I don't know if he's going to be at every live event. We don't know. If you look at someone like Edge, he has said in numerous interviews that he wanted to wrestle more and he wanted to do more appearances, and WWE didn't want that. They said to him, actually, we really want you to, we want you just to be occasionally wrestling. We want you to occasionally be on the program. Now, do they want that with CM Punk, or do they want him there all the time? Those details we'll have to wait and see to find out. That's what we'll have to wait and see. Felix, latest subscriber, as you can see, the CM Punk graphic is still popping up. We've got over 150 people watching, 38 likes. That's 12 likes away from 50. So if you haven't already clicked the like button, just a third of you. That's all that requires to get to 50 likes. If you haven't already clicked the like button, it feeds the algorithm, pushes the stream out more, and we grow the Wrestle News 365 community here. So if you haven't already, click that like button and be sure to subscribe while you're at it. We hit 15k recently, and now I guess the road to even higher numbers. Who knows how high we can go? It's a wonderful time to be a pro wrestling fan at the moment. We do daily videos talking about all things WWE, AEW, TNA, Impact, New Japan, anything that basically happens in the world of pro wrestling, we cover it here. There'll be a video that comes out after this as well, just kind of a short, sharp piece on Punk's return. There'll be a longer form news video in the morning. Usually there's about 2 a day. You get pretty good bang for your buck here at Wrestle News 365. As I mentioned, with all of the news stories, get 2 a day, 1 in the morning Eastern time, 1 in sort of the afternoon Eastern time, and sometimes we're breaking news in between as well. So there you go. IDK1991 says, "Are you also a host on United View?" Shh. Yes, I am. Yes. Balancing. That's living in 2 universes. You've got the football world and the wrestling world, and then this sort of grey bit in between where people cross over. But yes. And check out United View as well. 157,000 subscribers on that channel as well. Let's go through the show. That's what you're here for as well. Talk about the show. Let me know your ratings for the show actually as well. Let me put a poll in the chat. Well, what's the better poll? Would you rather have an overall show? Would you rather have an overall show thumbs up, thumbs down poll? Or would you rather just have a CM Punk promo thumbs up, thumb down poll? Maybe, I think more people probably have a bigger opinion on the Punk promo, to be honest. Maybe we'll just do that. How would you rate CM Punk's promo? Let's go a thumb up, and a thumb down. I know that's very like in between, and that's me making things very sort of black or white with no shades of grey there, but you know, it is what it is. So there you go. Polls in the chat. You can rate the Punk promo. Thumb up, thumb down. I'm forcing you. You gotta choose. You gotta choose that one. So let's go through the show. Indeed. And just like the thumb up, thumb down, click the like button. We hit 50 likes, so anything more is a bonus. We're 3 subscribers away from 15,190. So we start off the show. Randy Orton is back. His first promo, his first appearance on Raw after double fusion back surgery. And he says that he's back, and he's back for as long as he can be here. He's been gone for a while, and says that he's got unfinished business with the Bloodline, and he's got a bag full of receipts for the Bloodline as well. And he says every single member, and he says really when it comes to receipts, actually he means RKOs, the 3 most deadly letters in WWE. Who's he interrupted by? None other than the Eradicator herself, Rhea Ripley. Now she says, well, I think that you maybe changed a little bit. I didn't think you would team with someone who tried to end your career, and actually You're talking about your return. Your return was upstaged, referring to CM Punk. And she says, actually, War Games was just a bump in the road for the Judgment Day. He says the crowd chant RKO, and she threatens to put the Viper out more permanently. And Randy Orton says, look, I know I've been away for a while. I know a lot's changed whilst I've been away. And I watch the product. I see Mammy this, Mammy that. Well, guess what? Daddy's back, which got a big pop from the crowd. And then you get the chance of who's your daddy and all this kind of stuff. Rhea Ripley then says, right, you've made us your enemy now, which leads to JD McDonough and Dominic Mysterio attacking Randy Orton. We get an RKO to JD, and it's Dominic Mysterio versus Randy Orton later on in the show. Now, it must be also pointed out, this first hour was commercial free, and that was exciting going into the show that it was commercial free. We're like, this feels like the Raw after WrestleMania, doesn't it? You know, you've got CM Punk coming back, you've got Randy Orton coming back. First hour was commercial free. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy for no commercials. I'm happy to be watching wrestling. But there was really no point to have that first hour be commercial free. Like, there was no reason for it to be commercial free at all, because they had this opening segment, which was fine. Like that was fine. Randy Orton, huge pop, and it's great to see Randy because it looked like at one point he was going to have to retire. So that's cool. And he wouldn't be a babyface on Monday Night Raw without feuding with the Judgment Day. So now Randy Orton's feuding with the Judgment Day as well, which I still say I think eventually leads to Randy and Cody teaming up against Damian Priest and Finn Balor, I think. Although that's maybe changed a little bit now because Shinsuke Nakamura is feuding with Cody Rhodes. So I guess hold that thought, maybe. But the opening segment was fine, and it sets up the match for later on in the evening. Rhea Ripley's definitely the leader of the Judgment Day as well. But it was fine. It was good to see Randy back. Can't complain too much. And it was like, cool, we're getting Randy Orton wrestling tonight. We then go to a backstage segment with the Tag Team Turmoil competitors, and we get Jelly Roll, who I can't lie, Never heard of him before this evening, but that's no surprise. He could probably be the biggest star in the world, and I wouldn't have heard of him. R-Truth shows up and thinks they're actual jelly rolls, and they all laugh. Oh, isn't R-Truth stupid? Jelly rolls? No, that's the person, not the actual jelly rolls. Well, more fool us, because he was actually eating jelly rolls later on in the show. R-Truth's actually a genius, apparently. So that was a segment. And then we get into Tag Team Turmoil, which basically took up the first hour. So this is, I mean, the commercial-free thing really was purely a ratings ploy when you think about it. They said, look, there's a ton of interest in Raw tonight. Randy's back, Phil's back, Punk's back. Therefore, people are going to be tuning in from the start. And what always causes ratings to go down? Commercials. So because commercials cause people to tune out, what we're going to do is we're going to have commercial-free first hour, and we're basically just going to load the hell out of that show. We're going to make it, with that first hour rather, we're just going to make people stick to that first hour, and then that will spike the rating. So overall, in terms of the average viewership across 3 hours, it should do okay. But they had a commercial-free first hour, and then they just had to put in a really long match to try and fill time. So it kind of felt a bit counterproductive. You've given yourself this situation to get high viewers, but also at the same time, you're now trying to fill the time that you've set for yourself. You know what I mean? It was very kind of contradictory. So we get Tag Team Turmoil, which begins with Alpha Academy versus DIY. DIY advanced after the meet in the middle on Tozawa. Wasn't Chad Gable wrestling, it was Tozawa and Otis. This then leads to Indus Sher versus DIY. DIY win after Gargano rolls up Via. Out come the Creed brothers, who defeat DIY after the Brutus Ball on Johnny Gargano. The New Day come out next. Another Brutus Ball pins Kofi Kingston, which leads to Imperium, the final team, against the Creed brothers. And the Creed brothers win, but there was a couple of, well, I say a couple, there was a lot of botches in this one. This was clunky for me, to be honest with you. There was a spot where Julius Creed was basically going to like vault off the back of Giovanni Vinci up to the top rope, and he slipped. Now his recovery is really impressive because he slips and he just jumps up to the top rope anyway like it's nothing. I mean, unbelievable athlete. What an athlete Julius Creed is. And the finish is another Brutus Ball on Vinci, but he landed really awkwardly. He actually landed on Vinci's arm, and I was worried for a second that he was hurt. He appeared in a backstage segment later on in the show, so it doesn't appear that he's hurt or anything like that, but I was concerned. But the Creed brothers win. They're the number one contenders. I don't know with this match. It just didn't click, I don't think. I just felt there were so many points with different teams where it felt like communication was off, or it was just a bit sloppy, and just spots that they had planned just didn't work out. I credit Triple H for the work on the tag team division, because I think you got 6 actual tag teams in this match, which is good. That's what you want to see. 6 actual tag teams. I mean, you had an undisputed tag team title match on SmackDown on Friday involving the Street Profits and Damian Priest and Finn Balor that I thought was really underwhelming, actually, and didn't get a huge amount of time. And again, the actual tag team kind of lost. I don't think the Creeds win or anything like that. But it felt like a match that was filling time. And clearly they're very high on the Creeds. They're going to get shot at the tag titles. But there were a couple of spots that I just felt were rushed. And you kind of are reminded that just because they've come up from NXT, you got to remember the Creeds are still very new to this. They're collegiate athletes that didn't do work on the indies or anything like that. They've just been taught at the Performance Center for the last, 3 years, something like that. So they're still quite wet behind the ears, and they're still quite green. And sometimes, whilst the impressive stuff they do is just that, very impressive, it's still like, okay, there's still a way to go. But the Creeds win, and they're the number one contenders. We then go into a backstage segment with the Judgment Day. Finn Balor comes in, says, hey, can't take the Creeds lightly. Damian Priest is looking conflicted. He says, I know you want to say something. You're appointing me as the leader for the War Games match, and I let you down. And they all say, no, you didn't. You did. It's one loss. You didn't let us down. Relax. And it came off as Damian Priest being very paranoid. But they all kind of get him through it, and they say, hey, families don't abandon you, and you didn't let us down. And to be honest, it was a bit of an odd promo, because it was quite wooden, but it felt like a promo that clearly they're planting seeds for something. I'm not sure what that something is. Are they planting the seeds of, Damian Priest being paranoid? Are they planting the seeds that maybe the Judgment Day kick him out of the group? Like whenever they drop the titles, are they going to turn their back on him? Because if you go back, of course, there was that tension between Damian Priest and Finn Balor, over the summer. And maybe this is Damian Priest kind of seeing the writing on the wall and going, I know you want to say something. I know you think I let you down. And, I let the team down. I didn't lead us. And they go, no. Maybe we are going in that point where in the future he is going to get kicked out of the group. Perhaps. Maybe. But I guess stay tuned for that one, certainly. We next get a Cody Rhodes promo. Now, it was announced prior to the show that Cody's got a big announcement. And his announcement was he is entering the 2024 Royal Rumble match. Cody Rhodes came out, thanked his teammates, thanked Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, and Randy Orton. Got emotional, saying in his dad's match, of course, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes invented War Games. Cody Rhodes participating in it for the first time at Survivor Series in Chicago. Crowd chanted Dusty. Also spoke briefly about the return of CM Punk, saying nobody knew, and he said he had a couple of words for CM Punk, and that was welcome back. Now on to his big announcement. He said that he had received permission from Adam Pearce to say he was the very first entrant in the 2024 Royal Rumble. So the roadmap for Cody Rhodes is very clear, isn't it? I think everyone assumes that he's going to be facing Roman Reigns, WrestleMania, Night 2, main event, finish the story, Reigns versus Rhodes 2, and that's going to be the one that Rhodes wins. I mean, if it's not, then he's never finishing the story. I mean, we're going to do a trilogy. So Rhodes that's the roadmap for him, very clearly. They teased it on SmackDown, was it last month, whenever it was? So they're doing that. I don't think Cody wins the Rumble, as I mentioned. I don't think he does a Shawn Michaels and does back-to-back years. I mean, they've done everything in their power, WWE, to protect him and book him strong since he came through the door. I mean, has anyone actually pinned him at this point? I still don't think they have they? He's lost to Brock by passing out. He's very, very, very protected. So I don't think Cody wins the Rumble. I wouldn't even be shocked if someone in the bloodline, interferes on his behalf and screws him. He's going to get to WrestleMania somehow, and he's going to face Roman Reigns. No doubt about that. So once he does that announcement, the lights go out, and a spotlight appears on him. And on the Titantron becomes Shinsuke Nakamura. And after all of this talk, after all of this chatter for months, who is Shinsuke Nakamura talking about? Is he talking about CM Punk? Was he hinting at CM Punk? Was he referring to CM Punk? And all the reporting at the time was, no, he's not talking about CM Punk. Now, in fairness, they did say that nobody knew who he was talking about. They did say that no one had provided the context as to who Nakamura was talking about. Well, we found out. He was talking about someone specifically. He was talking about the American Nightmare. So he says that, he's going to bring some chaos, which I think is more than meets the eye with that. But he appears behind Cody Rhodes, sprays the mist, the red mist in the eyes, and that was the promo. So I thought the Nakamura promo was good. We now know who basically Cody's TV feud is between now and the Royal Rumble. It's Nakamura. So we're going to see Cody versus Nakamura at some point over the next 8 to 9 weeks. I thought the promo was good. I thought the segment was good. I'm interested in the interested in the feud. Cody, of course, will come out of this feud on top. Yes, again, it's a bit like it reminds me of John Cena versus CM Punk in early 2011, or sort of late 2010, early 2011, when Cena and Punk had like a TV feud that lasted sort of December through the Royal Rumble. And then after the Rumble, Cena went on to feud with The Miz and Punk went on to feud with Randy Orton. And I basically see that's what this is. It's going to be Nakamura and Cody feuding for the next sort of 8-9 weeks. They might have a match. They may even have a match at the Rumble, a singles match, and then they're in the Rumble, or they're feuding, and then, Rhodes eliminates Nakamura in the Rumble, something like that. So that's basically what's going on there. So all of that talk about, he's referencing CM Punk. He wasn't even talking about Punk. He's talking about Cody this whole time. And that was the plan, which is quite interesting. But I'm quite curious to see that. I enjoyed that segment. The polls in the chat, it's been in there for 12 minutes. And the question was, how would you rate CM Punk's promo? Thumbs up, thumbs down. 73% of you give it the thumbs up. 27% of you give it a thumbs down. So pretty positive so far for the Punk promo, which we'll get to shortly. Next, we had a match that actually I really liked, and that was Ivar versus Bronson Reed. Two giant men, over 300 pounds, just beating the shit out of each other, essentially. Was it perfect? No. Again, at points it was a bit clunky and some things that didn't go to plan. But I enjoyed it because it's different, isn't it? There's nothing that can beat two. But this is pro wrestling down to its core, isn't it? You know, two giant men doing crazy stuff and beating the hell out of each other and brawling. You know, so we had Ivar missing the moonsault. Valhalla, she got thrown out. They did a spot where, you know, he tried to jump off the apron, Ivar, into Bronson Reed's arms, and he dropped him. He tried to catch him, but he's too heavy, dropped him. He then threw him into the timekeeper area, and there was a double count-out spot here. You kind of knew where this was going once they started brawling into the timekeeper's area. And there was a spot where Bronson Reed gets Ivar up on his shoulders. And I don't know if this is what he was supposed to do or not, but he did a Death Valley driver into the barricade in the small timekeeper's area. But it looked like it wasn't set up for that because there were steel chairs like up against the barricade. And it's like concrete at that point. So I don't know if he was meant to do that, but it looked just rough. Ivar essentially no-sells it because he just gets up. It was a horrible bump. He gets up, no-sells it, gets a steel chair, hits him in the back. They start brawling through the crowd. I like the spot where Bronson's running at Ivar. He moves out the way. He just squishes a production guy in a chair. Ivar then hits a security member. Bronson Reed actually picks up a security person, throws him at Ivar. Ivar then gets up onto a road case. There's like a cannonball off it. And they had to get pulled apart, and it was a good brawl. A couple of ad breaks didn't help it, but I enjoyed that. Like I really did. I thought that was fun. That was a good TV match. It's not done clearly between them, and I'm glad it's not done because I think there's more room to go there. That will get over if they did that again next week, and once again turned out into another brawl. They did crazy shit. And then in a week after that, they've got to have some kind of Falls Count Anywhere, no disqualification, no holds barred match, something like that. I thought that worked. I thought that was fun. I enjoyed that. Next, we had Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler in a segment that was earlier today where they're talking backstage. Nia Jax comes in, sets up the match that they have in just a second. Then we saw the Judgment Day backstage once again. And R-Truth, he was right, as I said earlier on. Don't laugh at Truth. He was right. He said jelly rolls. And he was eating them. And he got powdered sugar all over the Judgment Day's clubhouse. And he also then said, I've heard you need a fifth member for War Games. I'm in. I'm up for it. They said, it's already been War Games. He said, did we win? How did I do? I don't know. And then he leaves. JD McDonough says, I'll take care of Truth. Well, that didn't happen in this episode unless I missed something. So maybe JD McDonough's going to be feuding with R-Truth on WWE programming. I would think coming out of a War Games that you lost and you're pissed off and you're angry and you're meant to be the top heels on the roster, if you went into your clubhouse and there was powdered sugar everywhere and there was some buffoon eating sweets or jelly rolls on your couch, you would just beat the hell out of him. Why they just went and played along with the comedy, that to me was totally illogical. And my concern is that they're now setting up to be like, okay, Truth and JD are just going to do comedy stuff for the next few weeks. I like the comedy in the sense of it was funny, but the button for that segment for me had to be, Damian Priest, you just earlier on be like, I let everyone down. You're angry. You're pissed off. And you're letting someone eat all over your stuff, like what would your natural reaction to that be? If this, I hate to do this as wrestling, but if that was real, like, and someone has defaced your property because they were eating and putting crumbs and all this stuff, you'd beat them up. And especially if you're a bad guy, well, so we're saying the top heel faction on the roster, they can surround all these people in the ring and they can attack people, they can lay them out, they can do all this kind of stuff. They can Pillmanize the ankle of Cody Rhodes and do all this crazy stuff. But if R-Truth's in their clubhouse eating jelly rolls, will do nothing because it's R-Truth. I mean, come on. I mean, really, what are we doing here in terms of the booking of the Judgment Day? That to me just made zero sense at all, logically. Where's the logic in that? There isn't any. Maybe that's the point because it's R-Truth. So next we have Nia Jax versus Zoe Starks. Nia gets the win via the Annihilator. And then after the match, she seemed very confused. She literally said to the ref, where am I going? So Zoe Stark, after challenging for the Women's World Championship unsuccessfully at Survivor Series, loses the next match as well. So, I mean, maybe we're getting Nia versus Rhea next, maybe. The women's division on Raw's got a bit of a problem. We did see a backstage segment from Becky Lynch later on where she said that she'd got some opponents or people she wanted to face off with. I'm paraphrasing. But they've got a bit of a Rhea Ripley problem in the sense of who challenges Rhea Ripley realistically that's engaging or, makes you actually buy in or interested or think that maybe she could lose. Even if Nia Jax faced Rhea Ripley, she ain't losing the bout. We all know she's not losing the bout. Becky Lynch is seemingly the match earmarked for her at WrestleMania, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know where that one is going, to be honest with you. We then get Imperium backstage. We get Imperium backstage with Gunther saying to Vinci and Kaiser, I expect you to sort out the DIY issue. Vinci says, I promise. Kaiser says, you promise. I'll sort it. Gunther turns around, says, sees the Miz there, says, Trouble in Paradise. He says, I heard what you said at the post-show press conference. You said the next opponent should say it to your face, so here I am. I'm sure I can beat you and take that title, and I think you know that as well. And Gunther laughs at him, says, Mike, you're no threat to my title, but you stood up for yourself. Good for you. You can claim you belong in that ring, just not with me. So I think we're probably going to be getting some rematch again over the sort of 8 to 9 weeks here. I enjoyed the match they had at Survivor Series, to be honest with you. But again, The Miz isn't going to be the one to take away Gunther's historic reign, is he? I don't think that's going to be the case. Not at all. What people say in the chat. Gareth says, I loved it, referring to the Ivar Bronson Reed match, but the ad breaks took me out of it. Almo watches wrestling, says, I wonder if Punk will join the Bloodline. I don't think so. He genuinely doesn't have the blood to be in the Bloodline. I don't think he's going to be an honorary Uce like Sami Zayn. Don't think that's going to happen. How many likes are we currently on at the moment? We're on 68 likes, 115 people watching. If you haven't already, click the like button. By the way, also, you can see it right there, bottom right-hand corner. We are only 8 subscribers away. 8 subscribers away from 15,200, which is incredible because we only hit 15,000 literally Saturday, or technically more Sunday, actually. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. So let's see if we can get that 15,200 number. New subscribers will pop up on the screen along with a CM Punk GIF. Seth Rollins promo up next, top of the second hour. And top of the third hour, technically, excuse me. So came out doing what Seth Rollins does, people singing his song, did his catchphrase, and immediately was met with CM Punk chants. And he goes, come on, get it out. Is that all you've got? And essentially he said the same thing that he said at the live event over the weekend, where he said, I don't want to spend one more second, one more ounce of energy on that hypocrite. So Seth Rollins either saying how he really feels, or probably more in reality, once again, work shoot territory and planting the seeds for an eventual feud. We're getting CM Punk, Seth Rollins at some point. It's just very clear that that's not immediate. I mean, I say that though. After all that's talk of me going, well, maybe we're not getting it immediately. Still, why not? Because, well, let's get through this segment and we'll circle back to that. Just hold that thought. Hold that thought. He says, I want to talk about the title instead. Drew McIntyre then interrupts him. He shakes Rollins' hand and says, congratulations. He says, the Judgment Day said they had a master plan, but their master plan was to lose. And the past 48 hours, I've got focused. I need to put Jey Uso on the back burner. I need to focus on the world title. And he says that Rollins was right. Says that he's got nobody to blame for himself, but for losing that crown jewel, that loss was on him. He says the compassion and sympathy that he showed him during the match, that's now gone, and he wants a rematch. And Rollins says, look, I'm glad that you saw that I was right, but there might be some other people that deserve the title match more than you do, Drew. And next week I am defending the title on the Raw against, and McIntyre says, okay, who am I defending it against? He says, I hate to tell you this, it's Jey Uso. And McIntyre loses it. Glasgow kiss. He's bleeding from the forehead like Bill Goldberg before an entrance. Jey Uso comes out, fights off Drew, and he's ahead of him now in the line. He stares at the world title, gives it to Rollins. They super kick McIntyre away, and that's the end of the segment. But I was just thinking about this. Thinking. My thought process is, I say, well, Rollins isn't facing CM Punk right now. Who says that? Because let's look at this next week. We've got Seth Rollins versus Jey Uso. Now, I said earlier on, maybe it's going to go in a triple threat direction. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's going to go in a direction of, you've got Jey Uso Rollins next week. Rollins wins the match, or at the very least, Drew McIntyre gets involved, costs Jey Uso. You can still do Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso as the feud moving forward, coming out of that match. McIntyre's also going to be facing Sami Zayn, but they could all be involved in that situation. Once you get Rollins free of that, if he's not defending against McIntyre or Jey Uso, then he is free for Punk, realistically. He is free in that regard. So maybe just because he's defending the title next week and it looks like he's maybe going to be tied into McIntyre, Uso, and maybe Zayn, doesn't necessarily mean that Punk won't be involved. So maybe Rollins is going to be Punk's sort of first feud, perhaps, possibly. Now, after this segment, Sami Zayn confronted Drew McIntyre backstage, said, actually, look, you're complaining about these disappointments you lost in your hometown in front of your family. Well, you lost in front of your family in your home country. McIntyre's from Scotland. It was in Wales. These details don't matter. But Sami Zayn said, that's the same. You were screwed over by the bloodline. So did I. But you've won the world title twice. I get back up. You don't. You've got everything going for you. You're acting like a spoiled brat and you're better than that. And McIntyre says, you're right. Sami Zayn next week. That's what he said. Facing Sami Zayn next week. He gets the go-ahead from Adam Pearce. So that match is on. So, again, where they're going with that, there's a lot of moving parts there. Drew versus Jey, clearly. Seth versus CM Punk, but then where does Sami Zayn fall into that category, I suppose? Still not sure. Before the main event, Jey Uso actually walks up to Randy Orton backstage and says, hey, I heard what you said earlier on. You said you got receipts for the bloodline. Cody got me a second chance on Raw. The past is in the past. Orton says, look, you had Cody's back. Cody and others trust you. That means something to me. We're going to let bygones be bygones. As long as you're out of the bloodline, he goes, I'm out. He says, we're good. So, any worry that Randy Orton was going to attack Jey Uso or anything like that, he says he's not going to do it. Does that mean he's not going to do it? I don't think so. Don't be so naive, Jey. He's called the Viper. He's a snake. At some point, make no mistake, he says he's got receipts for every member of the bloodline. So, yeah, he's going to come after Roman Reigns. Yeah, he's going to come after Solo Sikoa. Yeah, he's going to come after Jimmy Uso. But if Jey Uso thinks that Randy Orton isn't going to RKO him, then he's just naive. It's when you don't expect it. At some point in the future, Randy Orton will RKO Jey Uso. Maybe it'll be as soon as next week. I wouldn't be shocked if it's as soon as next week. Or it's coming at some point. So, yeah, the whole thing of him not gonna, I won't attack you. He will. He will. Absolutely. We then get Jackie Redmond. As I mentioned, she's joined by Becky Lynch. Says that she's back in Nashville. Says I've got more fights on the horizon, but one's more pressing than the other. And again, that's all that she said. I mean, again, I think she's clearly going to be facing Rhea at some point, but I just don't think that's immediate. I think that's for WrestleMania. So those pressing fights, you let me know what you think it's going to be. I still don't know. And we got a main event match. Dominic Mysterio versus Randy Orton. First match in 18 months. Largely paint by numbers. Randy very comfortable. The finish saw Jelly Roll once again. It was all over this show, metaphorically and physically. And he shoved JD McDonough to the floor. Randy Orton came out. Well, he shoved Dominic Mysterio also into the apron. Randy Orton came out, gave him the handshake, and then said, what's that smell? And I said Jelly Roll does sound a bit like a strain, doesn't it, realistically? Anyway, there's a couple of backdrops on the announce table. Dominic eventually managed to hit a 619, went for a frog splash, missed, RKO, 1, 2, 3. And Randy Orton is back. Then finally, we get into the main event segment, the segment that everyone was here for and everyone waited to see, and that was CM Punk. CM Punk is back in WWE. He came out, he said, well, I guess hell indeed did freeze over. And he says, lately, I've been feeling more like myself. And he says, I'm going to say 2 words that scare me, and say 2 words that people don't believe and sound cliche, but I've changed. Now, I think you're trying to say that he's changed in the last 10 years. It's more so of a conversation of like, have you changed in like the last, 10 weeks? Because maybe it would imply that you were fired from AEW for fighting twice. So maybe he has changed. Maybe he has changed recently. You don't know how long it takes for change. He also said 2 other words. He said he's home, which led to welcome home and welcome back chants. He says it's the truth. I'm home. He says, for you, I'm home for all of you. You never forgot me. You were all powerful. You never stopped chanting my name across continents, cities, across the globe. You chanted my name. He said, the voiceless found their voice. I love you guys. He then did a Paul Heyman reference. He said, a wise man once told me that to get everything he needs, he had to leave and come back. And he says, the wise man was right. And I thought, is Paul Heyman going to come out? No. But I think at some point we are going to get Paul Heyman CM Punk interaction. Of course we are. And then he tried to dispel some rumors about people not happy that he's back. He said, everything's good. Everyone's happy. Everyone welcomed me back. There were hugs. There were kisses. Everyone's happy to see me here. But maybe 1 or 2. He says, people are asking about AJ. And he says, AJ is all good and she sends her regards. An AJ Lee reference. Maybe she'll come back. The Royal Rumble's just around the corner. As I mentioned, he said everyone is happy to see him. Well, almost everyone. He says some are afraid. And the reason they're afraid is because the brass ring's in my back pocket and some people can't grab it. And he recited some lines from his pipe bomb promo, said, on the microphone, in the ring, even on commentary, nobody can touch me because I'm CM Punk, which then was like the final line. And then he said into the camera, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. And that was it. So as I said earlier on, no real developments when it came to CM Punk. No real direction as to where he's going or what the plans are for him moving forward. I guess we'll get more answers. We don't even know if he's officially on Raw. He still could be a free agent. He could be on SmackDown. There are still plenty of questions to be answered, and maybe that's the way WWE liked it. I don't know. But there you go, guys. That's your post-show for Monday Night Raw on Monday, November 27, 2023. If you haven't already, click the like button. If you haven't already subscribed, bottom right hand corner as we get close to 15,200. The poll that was in the chat, nearly 100 votes. 76% of you say that you gave Punk's promo a thumbs up. 75% of you say you give it a thumbs up, and 25% of you say you give it a thumbs down. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Hope you enjoyed these post shows and the watch alongs. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in this evening. As mentioned, there'll be a small news video coming up shortly regarding Punk and his promo on Raw, and we'll have news videos also tomorrow morning breaking down the latest news. Of course, a big newsworthy day. AEW World Champion MJF injured, QT Marshall resigning from AEW, significant backstage movement with that as well. So as always, plenty of news stories to get into. Have a great evening, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.